Hi guys, we're gonna get started with Founders Lunch today. Thank you all for joining. Like I said, we still have some seats in the main, so please come on up front. Come on down. Andrew's not gonna let me do this next time. So we actually have a little bit of a different lineup today. We're going to have Andrea Fay of the American Heart Association talk a little bit about the Heart Walk. So I'm going to give it over to Andrea now.
Thank you, Heather. Again, my name is Andrea, and I just want to thank Tom, Heather, Kathleen, and the greater Rev1 team for inviting me here to speak briefly a little bit to all of you today about the Heart Walk, about heart health, and a little bit about our mission. I won't take up too much of your time before you get to your main event, but and you're probably wondering, why am I here talking to you today? And really the simple reason is we have a great need to just simply engage more individuals in our community in a conversation around health. Our mission is to build lives free of cardiovascular diseases and stroke, and it really drives everything we do here in our community, across the country, and around the world, really with focuses on research, education, prevention, awareness, and advocacy. And something about our organization, every 10 years we set what we call an impact goal. And back in the year 2010, we set an impact goal for the first time that was twofold. And that was by the year 2020, we wanted to reduce death and disability from cardiovascular diseases and stroke by 20% while improving the health of all Americans by 20%. Sorry, can you hear me better now? And what a lot of people don't realize is that 80% of these diseases are preventable simply through lifestyle choices. And the reason I share that is we're well on our way to reducing the death and disability from these diseases by 20% by the year 2020. We're pacing at about 24% right now. However, when it comes to improving the health of all Americans, we've only moved the needle about 6%. And I share that because when you really think about it, it's about changing individual behaviors. How do you make the healthy choice the default choice? How do you encourage physical activity? How do you focus on reducing the stress in your life, making sure you're getting enough sleep? Because all of these factors contribute to our overall health. And we know through research that, if you're going to work every day, if your employees are coming to work every day, and they're healthy, they're well rested, they're recharged, they're coming to work happier, healthier, they're more productive in the workplace, and there's higher job satisfaction and fewer days lost due to sickness. So after kind of gathering some preliminary research and realizing we've only moved the needle about 6%, back in January we launched a new movement called Healthy for Good in partnership with our Heart Walk. And Healthy for Good is really about making small changes in our life today that create lasting impact in our own health, in our organization's health, and in our community's health. And it's based on 4 simple pillars, which are eat smart, add color, move more, and be well. I would say the eat smart, add color, and move more, they're not new to our organization. We know that poor diet, inadequate physical activity are 2 of the driving forces behind our nation's poor health. I would say the be well piece is probably a little new for us, really focused on that mindfulness, making sure you're getting enough sleep, and reducing stress. And really, all of those factors contribute to your overall health. And they don't only help prevent cardiovascular diseases and stroke, but many other diseases as well. So really, when you think about Healthy for Good, it's really about how do we inspire 365 days of heart health activity in our life, and then really use that Heart Walk as, the day of celebration. It's an employee engagement vehicle, and it's really an opportunity for us to spread this health message outside of workplace wellness to our colleagues, family, and friends. And come together for a common purpose in the fight against our nation's #1 and #5 killer of all Americans, cardiovascular diseases and stroke. So have any of you ever participated in the Heart Walk before? None of you, wonderful. So I have 2 asks to make of you today. I ask that you consider joining myself, the American Heart Association, Mike Larocco, who's the CEO of State Auto Insurances and our 2017 Heart Walk chairman, over 100 other plus companies and 35,000 plus participants on August 26th, and come out and walk with us. The commitment is very minimal. There's no registration fee or minimum fundraising amount required to participate. And I share that because that's very intentional. You know, our mission is improved health, and if, you know, attending the Heart Walk for the first time is you taking your first step into living a healthier life, we want people to come out and walk with us. Outside of, you know, minimal commitment, we have a 1 and 3 mile non-competitive route. It's a great, you know, team building opportunity. The day is very educational, family friendly. You can even bring your dog as long as it's on a leash. We have a, you know, our own doggy den for them. But so my ask is you to either join the Rev1 team, walk with your family if you're available on August 26th, or start a team of your own. And then secondly, I ask that you leave here today and consider one thing that you can start doing for your own personal health that can create lasting impact and even improve your health tomorrow. Whether, you know, that be turning your phone and all of your other electronics off for just 20 minutes a day. I know that's really hard to do. I get yelled at a lot about it, but just, you know, turn your phone off and take that time to recharge and de-stress from the day, and maybe focus on something that you haven't been able to get to over the last month or past couple weeks, or whether that's, you know, committing to getting 30 minutes of exercise. You know, you don't have to go out and run a marathon tomorrow, but, you know, commit to 30 minutes. Anything that raises your heart rate throughout the day is good for your overall health. Or lastly, you know, reduce sugary beverages in your diet. I was just sharing with Tom before here, he asked one thing that I have changed, and throughout college and, you know, a lot of my adult life and even through my childhood, I probably drank, you know, 6 Cokes a day, and I've weaned myself off of that, and I only drink probably about once a month, but, you know, I found that I don't even really like the taste of it. It's just more of, you know, something that I think I need to have. So just taking those small steps and to improve your health, your family's health, and our community's health, and, you know, starting to recognize some of those things, because when we think about our 2020 impact goal and changing in individual behaviors, it's really something that's going to take, you know, they always say it takes a village, and it takes each one of us kind of owning our own health and taking responsibility. And that's the most exciting part of it, is you have the power to change your behaviors and to, you know, be a catalyst of change for the health of our community. So I look forward to hopefully walking with all of you on the 26th. I will be around to listen to, you know, our other great presenters, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say, but I will turn it over to Tom at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for being here. Thank you. We'll put it right here. So, again, on behalf of Mike LaRocco, he's CEO of State Auto. He's chair of the AHA Walk this year. Rev1 has formed a team. You're all welcome to join our team. We hope to see you there on August 26th. We also have a walk here every week, Wednesday at 11 o'clock. We meet in the lobby of this building, and we have fun walking through the neighborhood. So we'd love to have you join us. It's a good half hour to spend with friends and colleagues and improve your heart health. We're all touched by heart disease. My family's going through it right now. It's a horrible disease, and this is an important cause, and so we hope that you can all join us. So you have 2 options every Wednesday at 11. If it's raining, we walk in the building. So we figured out about a mile path through the building here, which is what we did today, because it turns out our Wednesday group is a fair weather group, and or August 26th. So we hope to see you there. Any questions for me or Andrea? No? Well, terrific. So we're glad to have you here. Thank you, Andrea, for being here in the AHA and everything that you do. And who shall I hand it over to?
Thank you, Andrea, for that, and Tom as well. It is important. And we're going to get into our Founders Lunch now, so if our panel can come up, and we're going to show a video to kick it off.
Real quick, how many of you have participated in a startup weekend before? All right, so we've got, actually that's only probably like 30%. So we're going to kick this off with a little introductory video about Startup Weekend. This goes through the format of the weekend and should help give you guys a little bit of context for how it all works. But I'm super excited that you came out here during Founders Lunch to learn a little bit more about it. I think you'll see that this is a really cool event.
Startup Weekend is a 54-hour community event that teaches individuals how to conceptualize, build, and launch a startup company. When attendees arrive and check in, we have dinner waiting for them, we have drinks waiting for them, and we give them a little bit of an opportunity to socialize and meet each other before we kick off programming for Friday. All of this leads up to the main event on Friday, which is the pitches. We give attendees all the opportunity to pitch their idea for up to 60 seconds, talk about who they are, their background, why the idea is important, and what they need to make it a reality. Now it comes time for the group to vote on their favorites. Through this process, we can generally narrow down our favorite ideas to 12 or 16, and teams will organically form around those ideas. Saturday is when the real hard work begins. Attendees arrive bright and early, grab their breakfast, meet with their teams, and really start defining their idea, hammering down on what it is that they're proposing to the judges.
Our product is going to look amazing. I can't wait for tomorrow. You don't even know how good it's going to be.
Mentors play a super important role in Startup Weekend. They come and speak with the teams, ask some hard questions, make sure the teams are really drilling down on their concept, and then they convince those teams to go out and talk to their potential customers. A really important part of the evening is a check-in with the teams. We have everybody circle up, talk about what they've learned, and ask for any help they may need. Then it's back to work for the rest of the night. Now it's Sunday morning. Some of them are feeling great. Some of them are really feeling the pressure of that deadline. All through Sunday, teams are focused on making their presentations clear and tight because they only have 5 to 8 minutes to present. Judges will be evaluating the teams based on 3 judging criteria. The first criteria is user validation. Have these teams gone out and talked to an actual customer? Have they gotten feedback on their idea and has it been positive? Second, technical execution. Has this team built an MVP? Have they built something that is easy and intuitive to use from their user's perspective? Third is business model. Does this idea represent a real opportunity? How big is that market? Will people pay for it? Is this a scalable business? After all the teams have presented, then come the results. The judges will name the top 3 teams, prizes will be awarded, and the judges will offer feedback to help teams think about continuing their concepts beyond the weekend. Even though the weekend is structured as a competition, there are no losers at Startup Weekend. Startup Weekend is about connecting people, building community, and bringing people together around a shared passion of learning entrepreneurship. It lasts just 54 hours, but Startup Weekend can really change your life.
Thank you. Yeah. Woo. Cool. So that's actually the first time I think we've displayed that video publicly, outside of Jay's Facebook. So we're pretty pumped to have finally gotten that all pulled together and to share it with y'all. So we ended the video, Jay, I believe that was you narrating, right?
Correct.
We ended that video with a quick comment that Startup Weekend might just change your life. So we've pulled together a really nice panel here of people who have participated in in Startup Weekends and Give Back Hacks, which is a spin-off of Startup Weekend that's focused on social good. And I wanted to talk to you guys about how Startup Weekend or Give Back Hack has actually changed your life, changed the directory of it. So let's start there.
I figure we'll just go down the line. Boy, let me count the ways. I've interacted with Startup Weekend in several different capacities, actually. As an attendee back in 2012 at my first Startup Weekend, as an organizer since 2013, and as the first member of another team that won a Startup Weekend in Cincinnati. So it's really played a really crucial role in my life from an educational standpoint, understanding the process of starting a company, especially from a networking standpoint. As much as I hate that word, you meet a ton of really incredible people in the community, both fellow attendees and the mentors, and also from the opportunity to learn how to put on events. It's really changed my life in a lot of ways, frankly.
So I've participated in 2 Give Back Hacks and a Startup Weekend, and it has showed me, basically when the entrepreneurship bug bites you, it just kind of grows. And so I've been bitten by this bug, and I'm just kind of enthralled with the startup culture and the startup community that we have here in Columbus. And it's been an amazing opportunity to get involved and to meet people, because there's some brilliant people here in Central Ohio.
Yeah, and I attended my first Startup Weekend in 2015, and after that I started helping with Give Back Hack. But my first Startup Weekend actually changed my life so much that I dropped out of college to pursue the idea that I created in 52 hours or 54 hours. So I dropped out of college, moved to Columbus, and started a business out of Startup Weekend.
Awesome. Cool. So we're going to take a step back and let's talk a little bit about the 3 of you, our 3 panelists. So Claire, do you want to start this time? You want to talk about Aunt Flo and what you're working on?
Sure. So some of you might have heard of Aunt Flo. I'm the founder, and basically we make sure that everybody has access to tampons and pads. So I get to talk about menstruation for a living, and it is wonderful. But we fix that problem in 2 ways. So first is our subscription box. For 100% cotton tampons and pads, you go to our website, auntflo.org, and for every box that you buy, we donate a box to a menstruator in need in the United States. Tampons and pads aren't covered by food stamps or WIC, so it's a huge need. And then, of course, we also sell our tampons to businesses, so they can offer them for free to their employees and customers. And this is a huge opportunity because businesses are really looking for a visible way to show that they support female employees and menstruating employees and women empowerment, and we give them a way to do that. So we've partnered with Harvard, we work with organizations across the country. We've been in business for 6 months. I just hired on my 2nd employee. We've been featured in over 50 local and national news pieces, and I was actually just starting on a TV show on TLC for the past 6 weeks too. So that's kind of been the growth of Aunt Flo, and we are continuing to grow every day.
Yeah. So my first project was back in 2016. It was called Omnibus, and it was a real-time tracking transit application for CODA. And we ran with that for about 4 months until it crashed into a wall. And then, and there's a longer story on that. And then this past year, I went back to Give Back Hack, and I met a Startup Weekend winner. Her name is Allison Letty. She was the girl in the video that looked really excited all the time, like, and had long blonde hair. That's Allison. She's fantastic, and she has this product called Bust a Move, and the whole purpose is to provide teens and girls with affordable and supportive sports bras. And so I've been slowly working on that project with her, and this past year we placed 2nd at Give Back Hack, and now we're going to be starting our prototyping phases hopefully in the next couple of months.
Cool. Hey guys, I'm Jay. Between being an attendee, organizing Startup Weekend events, and facilitating Startup Weekend events, I've been around something like 24 of these things over the last 5 years, a whole lot. my first company was a startup weekend winner in Cincinnati. It was called Tixers, and it was a ticket exchange marketplace. And I ran that with a founder in Cincinnati until 2015 when we sold it to a company in Florida. Now, I've mostly taken a step back from the organizing of Startup Weekend. Matt and the current team are just crushing it and doing it better than Susie and I ever did, so we stay pretty hands-off. I'm on the Create Columbus Commission, which is a YP, Young Professional Governmental Board, with the city and mayor's office as a stakeholder, and we are the YP voice for Columbus. We have a grants program. We have several other priorities that impact how young professionals experience Columbus from a live, work, and play perspective. And recently, I left my job at Crosschecks, which you guys may be familiar with downtown. Left that job to start a new project on my own called Unreal Collective, which is an effort to create micro communities to help people grow their projects faster. So if you've ever heard of what a mastermind group is, it's a little bit like that. I create groups of 5 to 6 people who are all working on their own projects individually. I group them based on what their project is, their goals, the things that they're likely to learn over a 12-week period, and I facilitate 12 weeks of calls with that group so that everybody can move their individual projects forward faster. And those small micro communities add up to a larger community with a lot of cross interests. So.
Fantastic, and I should probably introduce myself too. I'm Matt Verizor. I am the Director of Investment Funds and Venture Acceleration here at Rev1 Ventures. I've been here for almost 3.5 years. I spent the first 3 years on the client services side, helping companies figure out product market fit, first customer, first revenue, first fundraising, and now I've moved to the investments team and I'm helping them on the other side. But I've been helping Startup Weekend on the side in my nights and weekends, and sometimes during the day too. Don't tell Rev1. For the last couple of years, probably I've been helping organize for probably about 2 years.
Last 4 or 5 events, probably.
Yeah, and I've been the lead org for this. I don't know. This I think is my 3rd or 4th event. So I've been spending a lot of time helping out with it, but I will try not to let that bias me. I know all 3 of these individuals really pretty well, so I might rib you guys a little bit while you're up here.
I can take it.
Cool. All right. So, what drew you to your first startup weekend or your first give back hack? Like, why'd you go? And I realize that many of you were in a different life state than you are now, but what pulled you in?
You want to keep going snake style? I'm getting close to fantasy football mode, and I'm thinking about drafts and snake style drafts. Anyway, my first startup weekend was in 2012. I was in college, and I had this idea for a college marketplace that was basically Craigslist exclusive for Ohio State students. You had to have an Ohio State login to get into the website. And so I went to an organization downtown that was like, it had a grant program, and it was for like environment and sustainable projects. And so I pitched them on this, and they're like, we have no idea why you're here. That has nothing to do with what we're doing, but here's $100, go to Startup Weekend. And so I took that $100 and I went to Startup Weekend and was so scared that I didn't even pitch that idea. I pitched a couple of ideas that I just thought of on the spot. It was here, it was in this room, it was at Tech Columbus at the time. And I knew literally one other person there, and I had just met him the week before. And so, yeah, we'll probably get into that story a little bit later, but I came because I had an idea that I thought was going to be huge, and then I didn't even pitch it.
I went to Give Back Hack, which was February 2016 for the first time, because someone handed me a ticket last minute. It was like a Friday morning, and they said, hey, do you want this? And I said, I don't know, and I was like actually talking to my mom, and my mom was like, what else is going on this weekend? And I was like, Beer Fest, and at the convention center. And she's like, oh, so you're gonna pay $50 to go drink beer, or you could spend a weekend channeling your energy in some productive way? And I was like, okay. So then I went to Give Back Hack. I took that offer and I was like, okay. And I didn't really know anybody else in that room either. I've gotten to know a lot more people as I've started in this community, but and I didn't think I was gonna pitch at all. And then I just kind of randomly pitched an idea about transit tracking, and then on Sunday we won. So it was just like, it was literally a whim. Thanks, Mom.
So I actually came at it from a different angle. I was at the Ohio State University, and meanwhile it's like football season, and I hate football. I was looking for a reason to drop out of college, and I couldn't find it on campus clearly, and so I was immersing myself in other opportunities. And so I came across Startup Weekend when I did a Google search, and I took an Uber there because OSU doesn't let you have cars your first year on campus. And so I took an Uber there. I spent the next 54 hours there, and of course while I was there I got my period, thus I founded Aunt Flo. And that's how I got there.
Cool. So we'll progress our way through the weekend a little bit. So what were the immediate benefits that you got from participating in Startup Weekend? You know, thinking about that idea, and as you took it through either Startup Weekend or Give Back Hack, you know, what did you see other than winning, right? Which is really gratifying. What else did you get out of it? You're messing up our snake layer.
Okay, so we didn't win. We placed second, and benefits was that I finally realized that Columbus was more than just OSU campus, because I'm not from Columbus, so I didn't know that was. I just thought it was OSU, and that was it. So I met a lot of people outside of OSU, which really helped me as I transitioned out of college for my support system, and so that was really beneficial.
Yeah, I didn't think we were gonna win, but I think the coolest thing about my first Give Back Hack and then Startup Weekends after that has been to see how teams form, because teams really do form organically around the idea that interests them the most. And I remember coming back on that Saturday morning and being like, why are these 7 other people here around me? But then seeing the collaborative effort and just the open communication, it was just by far one of the most exciting and fun weekends, because it was just constantly working on a project and towards a goal, and you were all working together and for the same thing, and you were all organically formed because you all were interested in that idea and that project. So that's what I think was the biggest benefit to me, is to see that collaboration play out.
I learned a ton because at the time I think I was 19, verging on 20, and I just had no idea what I was doing. At the time I'd come to college from a family that was all educators, high school educators, parents, sisters, extended family. And so I had a really small worldview, and I had just discovered in college the concept of entrepreneurship, but it was very nascent in my mind. And so showing up, I learned a ton, but it was also this wild who's who of people, and I'm sure 5 years from now the people you meet at this Startup Weekend will be the same way. But I remember sitting in this room, like I said, the first person I met was named Ryan Nostrom. He's one of the lead engineers at Instagram right now, and it was his first Startup Weekend. It was organized by Nick Seguin and Andy Sparks, who you may know locally. My team consisted of Susie Bureau, who was one of the early employees at Cover My Meds and is a product owner there. Josh Glick, who's a co-founder of Listener in Cincinnati, that's just killing it. Chris Ridenour, who is also a co-founder of Listener, but is no longer there, has been a part of a couple of Brandery companies. And this amazing designer, Alex Safchuk, who's in DC at this amazing design firm called Huge. And that was just the first 6 people I interacted with. So that was incredible to have that type of people added to my network immediately as someone so young and learning so much. But also throughout that weekend, being what we call a non-technical or a hustler, I was just kind of up for whatever. I was open for anything. It's like, you guys have very discrete and distinct skills. Let me know how I can help. I'll do research, I'll do market validation, I'll help on the deck, I'll do whatever. So it's humbling in a way and also extremely educational.
Cool, Jay. I'm going to keep asking you questions. So you were talking a little bit about all these amazing people that you met and the experience that you had going through the weekend, but that almost didn't happen. So can you tell us a little bit about your story about pitching your idea and participating in the weekend?
Yeah, I was not always this outspoken or handsome. So my first startup weekend, I pitched a couple of really weird ideas. I forget what they were. I think there was one idea. I was like, I was on Ohio State's campus the other day, and I was on the Oval, and there was this massive pink bunny out on the Oval, and I didn't know what that was. There should be like an app I could ask, and that was like before Twitter. I'm sure that'd be on Twitter now. But I almost didn't go through the weekend because after I pitched, what I didn't do was try very hard to get votes. And if you've never been to a startup weekend before, every attendee gets 3 votes for their favorite ideas. You pitch your idea, you put it on a piece of paper, you hold that piece of paper, and once the ideas have all been pitched, everyone goes around with their votes and votes on their favorite ideas. I didn't get any votes because I didn't really get out and talk to people or try to hustle those votes. I just expected it to all come to me because I was pretty introverted. And so sitting there, I literally picked up my backpack and I was like, I don't know anybody here. My ideas didn't get voted on. I don't know what team I'm going to join. And I was starting to walk away. And there's this woman that was like, hey, I really liked your ideas. You should have tried harder to get votes. And that was Susie. And that was the first time I had met Susie. And she convinced Chris Ridenauer, who had pitched this idea for an app that was a little bit like Instagram, but on the photos you would up or down vote on whether or not it was a manly photo. It was called Man Card. And like right before I left, the only other guy that I was telling you I'd met the week before that I knew, his name was Josh Glick. I was like, hey, can I join your team? And Chris was like, we don't need any help. We got 2 developers and a designer. And Susie came up and was like, hey, I really liked your ideas. You should have tried harder. And I was like, yeah. And I was still standing by Chris. And she was like, are you working with these guys? And Chris was like, and she's like, you should work with these guys. And he was just like, all right. So, but without that encouragement, and Chris and I are good friends. That was just a funny story, but he wasn't like all that opposed. He was just kind of like, I don't know what you do. Without that encouragement, I probably wouldn't have done it. And since then, every event that I go and I organize, I try to make the point strongly, like, stay. It's Friday. This is like pretty make or break, depending on what time or what team you join. That's going to kind of define your experience. But no matter if your idea is voted on or not, as long as you join a team and go through the experience of the weekend, you're going to get so much out of it. So just stay.
Going into that, there are a lot of people who are hesitant about participating in Startup Weekend to even begin with, let alone continuing on in the weekend. Can you speak to why some of the people in this room, experienced entrepreneurs or people who are in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, why they might want to get over that hesitation hurdle and actually join us? Totally.
I mean, by virtue of having a hesitation hurdle, you're experiencing discomfort, and that should be sign enough that you should do it. So absolutely do that. It's going to push you. If you're not pushing yourself, you're not growing. So if you're feeling that, that's a sign that you should absolutely do it. And you're going to meet so many incredible people, and you have no idea how they will play into your life down the line. Maybe they can contribute to something you're working on now after the weekend. Maybe you don't work with them ever. Maybe you work with them 6 years from now, but that was still the moment that you met them for the first time. Same goes for the mentors you meet over the weekend. You'll learn so much and you'll meet so many incredible people, and it might at least give you sort of a creative spark that you can carry into your work when you go back into the work week. All right, I'm going to transition to after the weekend. We've hit the bottom of the hour, so that is our cue. So Claire, do you want to talk to us about the first year out?
So actually, Startup Weekend was really tough for me. Primarily because so what happens at Startup Weekend, you get a team and you don't know these people, and typically Startup Weekends, people don't move forward with their ideas, but I'm like, I love this, I want to move forward with it. And then afterwards, we were evaluating our team. One was moving to Arizona, one was moving to Florida, and I'm dropping out of college to go full-time on this company, but they all wanted 1/3 equity split. And I'm like, equity of what? We don't have a company, but sure. And so I had to, right off the bat, make some hard decisions of, am I gonna move forward by myself, or am I gonna like muddle around with these people that one was an entrepreneur but like sold doTERRA oils. I mean, nothing against doTERRA oils, but like, we all know that's like a product handed to you. Much different than creating a product and bringing it to production. So hardest first step, I decided I was gonna do it by myself. So for the first year before we even launched, it was just me. And thankfully, I worked at the OSU call center for a period of time, so I learned how to beg people for money, and that's how I raised my first $25,000 via crowdfunding. I would like get on the phone and make 3 asks. First ask would be like, will you give me 500? They're like, no. I'm like, will you give me 250? No. Will you give me 50? Sure. So that's how I raised 25,000, and that was in May of 2016. And then we launched in November of 2016, so just a few months later, and it was by myself the whole time. And it was really hard. I didn't sleep at all, and I'm still not sleeping, but thankfully now I have a team. So first year after Startup Weekend was really tough, especially because I had some contacts because I did Startup Weekend, but really I knew no one in Columbus because I grew up in Toledo, and all I knew were the college friends that I had, but they weren't much help at all. So it was really tough, really, really tough. Also, dumb decision, I signed a lease on an apartment for $1,200 a month, so I was freaking out because whatever. But quick fun story, I actually ended up subletting that apartment. There were 3 bedrooms. I sublet the other 2 bedrooms for $600 each, and I lived there for free for 9 months after I figured it out. It was illegal, don't do it, but yeah.
Good job.
So the first year out is really hard. Nora, you get to speak to that too.
Basically, so Claire has worked really hard, and OnFlow is an amazing company. And she's on my right, and on my left is Jay, and he has had lots of different fantastic, successful projects. I sit here in the middle as kind of a lesson about failure, and learning how to start and stop and start again. So Omnibus stopped about a year ago this month, just because of basically we came out in the right time, where it was before transit app came to Columbus, as well as any type of transit tracking and smart cities was given to Columbus. So we were before that, but we also gave CODA the idea to use transit app. So lesson number 1 of failure: don't tell your customer your biggest competitor, or sell them your biggest competitor. So that's what happened with that. But I think that what Startup Weekend and Give Back Hack have really done for me in a way, and has also showed me, is that you can, even if you fail, you just fail hard, fail fast, fail often, get back up on your 2 feet and start again. Start with another idea that makes you jump out of your skin, or that just it piques your interest just a little bit, so that you have the drive to go make asks for some funding, or to go out in the community and talk about it. So it's a lot about stopping and starting again.
Okay, can you speak to the community's role in helping you continue on after the weekend, and then after you stop? You know, we're all still here. So can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, so I mean, I think everyone's kind of like your peer and your friend, for sure. And so I think, well, first of all, just starting, the only way that we won on the Sunday, the following Tuesday, so 2 days later, we were, for Omnibus, we were presenting in front of the CODA board, and so that was huge. But the only way that would have happened is because of the mentors and the connections that this entire community has over the weekend. And you kind of say to one of the organizers, hey, we're doing this, how can we get in touch with someone that's in the transit community? And then one thing leads to another, and J.M. Rayburn, who's on the Transit Columbus board and has done a lot and works for the city of Dublin, is coming in to see what we've done and helping us connect to the board of CODA. So that is how starting. I mean, like, the connections are amazing, and being able to leverage those connections is really what will make you successful. And then when you stop, it's kind of, I remember stopping Omnibus was really hard because it felt like I was really failing and I was really letting down the community that had built me up so far. And that was really tough because I just didn't want to let anybody down. And but it was the right decision to do because we just weren't ever going to have any revenue, and you can't be a business without any cash flow. So I had a lot of talks with some friends that are within the startup world and startup weekend world, and they just kind of reassured me that it's okay to fail, and it's okay that you failed really fast, and it's okay to also start again. And when you're ready to start again, there will be these connections and these friendships to help you along the way.
Can I throw some numbers out? To back up a couple of the things that Nora and Claire talked about, just some statistics. They're both an anomaly in the way that globally 13% of teams will continue after Startup Weekend. The organization itself has rebranded from start a company in 54 hours to experiential education around how to start a company, packed into 54 hours. So that's the first hurdle they both broke through, which is awesome. The second thing that I would point out is we have generally here in Columbus, which is one of the most mature cities, communities in the Startup Weekend global ecosystem. We've been around since 2008, and the organization started in 2007. We typically have between 100 and 125 attendees, and then we'll have over a dozen, close to 24 mentors and judges and speakers throughout the weekend too. So just from a pure numbers game, that's what Nora's talking about with the connections. We bring in really great people from the community, so no matter what you're working on, even though it's a weekend and you want to get in touch with somebody on the board of CODA on a Saturday, there's somebody there that can make it happen.
I just realized that, was it last week? You grabbed coffee with the founder of Startup Weekend, right?
Yes, on Friday.
Cool. So can you pull this back and talk about Startup Weekend at a global level? And then can you also talk about our cousin Startup Week and how we're related?
Yes. Okay. Evolution of this organization. So Startup Weekend was the first part of this organization. It started in 2007 in Boulder, Colorado, and it was founded by a huge community champion there named Andrew Hyde. And I mean huge, literally. He's like 6'6". Amazing dude. He had this event, and the premise at that time was he was going to bring in 40 really smart people. They were going to ideate over the weekend, and they were going to start one company that all 40 of them owned equity in. That they thought 40 amazing people, amazing company. And then Startup Weekend as an organization was intended to take a piece of equity from that company as well, and that was the model that he was going after. One of those people in that first group was named Mark Nogger, and Mark ended up seeing the potential as a community organization and an educational tool, and he bought out Andrew Hyde on that organization, and he started bringing it to communities globally all over the place as a nonprofit. Startup Weekend didn't take a cut. It was more about bringing in lots of teams, creating lots of projects, and giving everyone a chance to educate themselves. So Startup Weekend existed in isolation as a nonprofit for some years. It was backed by the Kauffman Foundation in Kansas City. Then recently, two things happened. I forget the order. They started rolling out more programs like Next, which is sort of an accelerator program after Startup Weekend. They have Startup Digest, which Ben Blanquera here in town runs. And I think I'm forgetting something. But they put that all underneath an umbrella organization called UP Global, UP Global, and ran those programs under that umbrella. Then that organization was sold to Techstars, which you've probably heard of, one of the most successful accelerator programs that has multiple chapters in different cities across the country. They sold that organization to Techstars. About the same time, Andrew Hyde started Startup Week, also in Boulder, which was a week-long series of events celebrating entrepreneurship in that city. He did that underneath Techstars as well. He did that underneath Up Global. It did happen first. Startup Week was created under Up Global. Techstars bought Up Global, and then Andrew was part of the Startup Week team for Techstars.
Cool, thank you. And it's a global event. It's in I actually should have grabbed the slide. It's in hundreds of countries. It's in thousands of cities here in the United States, and we have hundreds of thousands of participants each year. So it really is it's not just this community, and there's a lot of cross share that goes between the different groups. We were even talking with one in Zanesville the other day. So it's there are 4 or 5 chapters in Ohio too.
And when you join that community as an attendee, as an organizer, you join that global community. You can get in touch with these people who have done this event. It's a shared experience that you all have and you can all speak to because the format's pretty consistent. And so anywhere that you travel to, you can probably reach out to the organizing team, find some attendees that did it in that city. Honestly, I use that for travel all the time. It's like I go to a city, I meet up with people who have done Startup Weekend, I stay with people who have done Startup Weekend. It's this amazing collaborative global community.
Cool. And Jay, can I ask you about Tixers? And can you tell us a little bit about the first year coming out of Startup Weekend?
Yes, first year. I love this topic because I'm actually working with a friend of mine to produce a podcast called The First 4 Years because they're all hard. Anyway, the first year for Tixers started in 2013, and it was founded by a guy named Alex Burkhart, good friend of mine who's getting married next weekend. He pitched it at Startup Weekend Cincinnati, had a team. He was working at Macy's at the time, won that weekend, and then a little under a year later applied to an accelerator in Covington, Kentucky. It just like sat with him. He really wanted to do it. He really thought it had legs. He got into the accelerator and he quit Macy's to do it. And so he's a single founder going through this accelerator, and about midway through the accelerator, I got connected to him, and I joined him as the 2-person team that was Tixers in March and April of 2014. It was really difficult. The accelerator was amazing. I'm a big proponent for accelerators. I think the model's kind of messed up, but what I think about it is, especially accelerators that are sort of newer, even if they won't always be around, they want you to succeed just as much as you do. I mean, everybody does, but they are so new and so young, they need some wins early on. We were in the second class of Uptech in Covington. And so as like one of the front runners as the company that was going to succeed out of that accelerator, they supported us so much to the point that they even led our investment round when we raised our seed funding in 2014. So we raised a seed fund of close to $382,000 in 2014. We operated through that summer. We formed a relationship with Xavier University. And Tixers, let me back up, ticket exchange marketplace. Think of StubHub. If you're going to buy tickets, it looks just like StubHub. It's a secondary marketplace. You buy from other people who already have the tickets. If you had tickets to sell, instead of listing them, monitoring the price, waiting for a third-party buyer, we would give you an offer immediately to buy those tickets and take them off your hands, and it would be in the form of site credit, sort of like a gift card that you use towards other tickets. So the way that played out is we worked with a lot of season ticket holders and ticket pack holders who didn't use all their tickets, but they bought them in bulk, and they could liquidate them very quickly, use them towards other tickets. So we operated for a while, raised a seed fund, formed a relationship with Xavier University in Cincinnati. And what was really lucky for us was working with Xavier and the Bengals in 2014, 2015 was like the best years of both of those programs in history. And so we were able to really capitalize on that and do really, really well, and got the attention of this company in Florida that had bought another ticketing company out of Cincinnati, and started that relationship. We saw how they would be able to give us the resources, both capital and engineering talent that we lacked. And we approached them. We worked through several months of diligence and inked a deal in May of 2015. So we were only really at it with Tixers for a year and a half. So it was exceedingly difficult, very crowded space. We were able to work relationships from Startup Weekend and from our own networks to make it work. But it was, like Claire said, very difficult.
All right, I am actually going to see if you guys from the crowd, the audience, if you all have any questions for the last 10 to 15 minutes of this. That way you don't have to listen to me anymore.
When is the next Startup Weekend, and how can people get involved?
Yes, you should have found this on your chair. The next Startup Weekend is coming up not this weekend, but next weekend, June 23rd to 25th, and we are hosting it in collaboration with the Idea Foundry. And how many of you have been in the Idea Foundry? It is amazing. So it is the largest makerspace in the United States by square footage. A makerspace is a place for makers to gather together. It's a place of shared tools, shared resources. You've got a wood shop, a welding shop. You've got 3D printers and laser cutters and all these amazing resources. And we are collaborating with them on putting together this next startup weekend. So this next startup weekend is going to be maker themed. They are providing a lot of staff in order to help make some of their advanced tools accessible, such as laser cutters and 3D printers. And they're also providing some design help as well. So the goal here is to produce some really, really cool hardware products, some really, really cool products that blend the boundaries between hardware and software and technology. So we've done it before. We've done it at the Smart Cities Hackathon. We've had physical products win. And we're really, really confident that we're going to have some amazing products by the end of this weekend that'll definitely knock your socks off, because we're bringing in a ton of professional resources. Teams are going to make some awesome stuff. So tickets, we've got like 10 non-tech tickets left, and so tickets will sell out. So make sure to grab yours. They're about $75 for the whole weekend. But you get, we feed you for the whole weekend. You get a sweet shirt. You get water bottles, some cool swag. So it's definitely not something that we're making any money on. Cool. All right. Question.
Yeah. So Jay kind of answered it, as he said. His startup weekend helped them get through a round of funding. Has startup weekend ever led like a team going right out of there with someone who's going to help fund their project?
I'm sure with the number of data points globally it's happened. Startup Weekend, the accelerator actually helped us raise a round of funding. Startup Weekend didn't help us directly with funding. There used to be cash prizes for Startup Weekend, and that became very problematic for some of the reasons that Claire talked about with team dynamics. And so we just don't offer that anymore because it's not really in the spirit of the weekend. Since everything coming out of Startup Weekend, everyone starts on an equal footing and you have to come with no work done. You start from square one. Getting to whatever square two is over 54 hours, you're not likely to be in a place where you're ready for funding. However, we always have amazing community supporters like Rev1, like Drive Capital, that will be at the weekend seeing the pitches in one format or another, and usually they put up some office hours as prizes, so that if you win the weekend you can go and talk with those teams and at least understand where you would need to go to and get to so that you were in a place that was where investment might make sense.
And I apologize, I'm going to ask one more quick question. What does the user validation look like if your customer's not in that building? Talk about user validation.
Well, so I think that user validation, you try to get your product out there, so through surveys, kind of doing market validation of understanding, well, first of all, you have to kind of understand who would use your product, but then asking questions to determine if they would actually buy it and use it, or if they would use it but not buy it. That kind of thing. So we do a lot of surveys, and then using a lot of our social media platforms to heighten those surveys out and to get more reaches on that. So it might not necessarily be someone physically using it, but the market validation of saying like, yeah, I would purchase this.
Okay, thank you.
And there are some B2B companies too that will go and get specifically in touch with the right person at the right type of business. We've had companies present on Sunday night with letters of intent for purchase of their products, which is like a big win. We've had people actually make money over the course of the weekend. That's some real validation, yeah.
This question is for all three of you guys, and knowing what you know now, and Jay, you already kind of touched on this, what advice would you give to the next winners of Startup Weekend?
Well, considering it is now focused on makers and being a product company, I think that one of the biggest things to remember is, I mean, in the startup world, everybody says it takes 2 times longer and 2 times the money, but like with product companies, it takes 4 times longer and 4 times the money. International business is really tricky. If anybody's doing that, I'm happy to help a little bit. But especially with that makers area, I think that considering where you're sourcing is something to consider specific to this startup weekend.
I think that sometimes having a naivete about the whole entrepreneurship is kind of nice, because you're going in just trying to absorb as much knowledge as you can, and you're just after the weekend and you're going forward with your project, you're just kind of executing, and you might not necessarily be making the right choices, but at least you're moving forward and at least you're executing. You're not just sitting back and talking about it still. You're not just brainstorming. You're actually making moves, which I think is probably the most exciting and exhilarating thing as well once you move forward with your project. And so even just leaning into that naivete, being like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do this, and moving forward, because you never know what will happen. So just go with it.
I think this is implicit in both the responses, but I'm just going to underscore it. One of the magic things about Startup Weekend is that you're surrounded by these people and you're in a room together for 3 days straight, and you're just around each other working on it constantly. And so after the weekend, the biggest advice that I would give, and this is part of the thesis of what I'm doing with Unreal, is to get regular meeting times together and continue to get together and work together. Otherwise, it's really easy to lose pace, lose focus, lose tempo, and lose progress ultimately.
Any other questions? One in the back.
Howdy, gang.
Hey!
So my question is for all three of you, in particular Claire, though, since she's dropped out of college to pursue her entrepreneurial pursuits. I've done 2 Give Back hats, but I know during the startup weekend it's roughly the same atmosphere of you have a lot to do and a lot that you don't know coming into it. There's a lot of setting aside of your pride, as Jay talked about, to try to understand what to do and how you can best, be a help. So what's the one skill that you, in all of your experience, what's one skill that you wish you had coming into the weekend?
I mean, I feel like everybody always wants a developer on their team, so that's like the given answer. I mean, we're a product company, but even a developer would be handy so our website didn't crash every other fucking week. So I think I wish I knew how to do coding. My last name's Coder, but I don't know anything about coding. I mean, that's my one wish that I had. But yeah, there is a lot to do. But that's kind of why it's fun, because you can just do it all in a weekend. And then afterwards you realize all of that work isn't really actually customer validation. You send out a survey monkey to 100 of your friends. That's not actually customer validation. So you redo everything and then reconsider. But it's a great, fun exercise.
It is really educational, and I mean, I think it starts you to get on a good habits of market validation and learning that. A skill that I think I would have loved to have any type of technical skill, but the other thing was just trying to, that means I just try to recruit people to come onto my team to help me, and just having a really collaborative mindset, because you're going to want the people that are good at what they do and then being really successful at that on your team.
Totally. Our biggest area of need most weekends is from the design standpoint. And so it'd be easy for me to say that. But actually, I think what would help literally anybody more than that is just coming in with some outgoingness, a positive mindset, and just some confidence in talking to people. Because you're in this think tank of 125 people. And the more people you talk to, the more you're going to get out of it. So just the skill of being able to talk to people.
And I'd recommend getting a good night's sleep on Thursday before you get there. Cool. All right, do we have any other questions? All right. With that, do you guys have any closing comments and any last words of wisdom or encouragement that you'd like to drop?
definitely do it. I encourage literally everybody to experience one of these at least once in their life. You get just so much out of it, and I don't know how to overstate it, and I'm not going to. And for a little bit of a plug, I write every day, so if you thought I sounded like I knew what I was talking about in any way, go to my website, which is just jclouse.com, and I would love for you to read what I'm writing about.
I say even if you don't have an idea, don't let that scare you away from the weekend, because you might get there and all of a sudden you'll be hit with inspiration, or you'll be inspired to join a team. So I would definitely come to Startup Weekend.
Yay! Come to Startup Weekend. And of course, like if you ever want to connect with me, my email is claire@ontflow.org, or if you go to our website, ontflow.org, and you want to subscribe, that'd be awesome. Or just shoot an email, because then it hits Lindsay, and that ultimately comes to me. So happy to connect with anybody, talk about ideas, products, menstruation, anything.
All right, well, please help me in thanking our fantastic panel today. Thank you.
And thank you, Matt.